It's like having belief, it's embracing challenges, you're looking at sort of perseverance, it's like you're not giving up at the first hurdle. I think when you've got sort of a growth mindset, you look at things differently, you look at it from a point of growth.
So you have your identity, and then from identity comes beliefs. Then from beliefs comes your behaviors. From behaviors comes your habits, and from habits comes the results. So essentially, if you want to change the results, you need to change your identity first.
If you train yourself and you train your subconscious mind, it will come through to your conscious mind. Like you'll start thinking about things differently.
Hey people, today's our 5th episode and welcome to Triangle Theory. Today we're going to explore the topic, the power of your mindset. The mindset is the most powerful tool when it comes to success and every day of your life. And the famous Tony Robbins quote says that when it comes to success, it's only 20% of it is your skills and 80% of it is the mindset. So we will uncover how to unlock the power of your mindset and put yourself on the path of success.
It's about having a growth-orientated perspective. A powerful mindset not only empowers you, the individual, but I think it also allows you to become more of a support network to the others around you as well. I think it's all about sort of having positive thinking, resilience, self-belief, everything that we sort of covered in other episodes of this podcast. But yeah, I think a powerful mindset is a way in which you create yourself and having the sort of more of a, I suppose, like a goal-orientated mindset where you're kind of, more problem solving, more sort of embracing change, looking at opportunities, not so much the obstacles.
Yeah, I guess it's very important to note as well that when it comes to the mindset, there's two different types of mindset. So it's a growth mindset and fixed mindset, and it all depends on how you think and how you view the situations. Totally. And I guess we explored in the last episodes that we said bad things, view them as opportunities. That comes from the growth mindset. So if you could distinguish growth mindset and fixed mindset, how would you say they are different?
I think like it's like having belief, it's embracing challenges. You're looking at sort of perseverance. It's like you're not giving up at the first hurdle. I think when you've got sort of a growth mindset, you don't so much look at things differently. You look at it from a point of growth. It's almost like when you sort of see, like in Stoicism in like one of our other episodes, it's like it's not an obstacle. It's more of an opportunity for growth.
Exactly.
And I think it's flipping that on its head where you're not essentially fixed. You don't have like this one sort of way of thinking. You're sort of out of the box. You're thinking more, I suppose, like you're viewing things as in which they sort of are, but you look at it from a different perspective of like, okay, this is a challenge, but I'm not going to let it consume me. I'm not going to let it get to me. I think that's sort of more of a growth mindset sort of.
Yeah, I guess as well, it's important to say that I was in a fixed mindset as well. I guess when I was a kid, and I always viewed, because of my environment, I always thought that these people who achieve great success and are great athletes and singers, actors, all of them, they are destined for it in a way. So it's just it's something that like they're talented, so that's why they are the way they are, and we just are the people just working class, and we can't really achieve much stuff. So I think once you realize that it's not that, you can actually achieve these things as well through hard work, perseverance, resilience, and that's when you start to shift your mindset from the fixed to growth.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's also like, if you've got more of a positive mindset, I think it profoundly influences your behavior as a person.
Yeah.
Like if you think about sort of day to day, I suppose that you're trying to cultivate this person that you want to be, like having a positive outlook on things will only inherently change the way you like are as a person. And I think that was also a big thing for me, especially just sort of on positive thinking, was I always felt like if I think things more positive, not like naive or things like that, but more sort of if I try and do things more positively and have this sort of different outlook on things no matter what the situation, and try and look at the positives of it, not always focusing on the negatives, because I think we always tend to go towards, it's like the negativity bias.
Yeah,
you always stem towards, the worst case scenario. And I used to do that a lot. I used to overthink a lot, and I used to sort of always go to worst case scenario. And it wasn't until I was kind of working with James, who's like a mutual friend of ours, where he kind of really was like, not, if a problem comes, it's not dwelling on the issue. Like, it's because I always had the problem of always going to sort of like, okay, this has happened, it's worst case, and not really having a very positive attitude on it. And I think that used to make my mind race, and it used to give me a lot more stress and anxiety. Instead, actually, now I feel that if a problem arises, it's not so much thinking worst case, doom and gloom, my world's going to end. It's actually being like positive. Okay, well, if it's a problem, then it's good to have problems, but also looking at it in a way that's more positive and not so much negative. And I think that made me more of a nicer person to be around, especially like with challenges, and like even at work and stuff. I think Charlie and I, whenever we're faced with issues, we always try and look at it in a way that's like, okay, this is good that it's happening. If we didn't have problems, it'd be shit. Like, good problems are good, but not letting it be like doom and gloom, my world's gonna end, like,
I guess if you have problems, that means you're doing something right.
You got to be doing something right. Exactly.
If you don't have problems, there's something wrong then. I mean, it's very true that you said that, because and I noticed that in you last week when we were supposed to shoot a podcast, and I booked the wrong day, and we came in, and there was apparently it was another day, but you reacted really positively, which was like, oh, fair enough. It made me to go through that.
Hey guys, thank you so much for making it this far into the podcast. If you have any feedback, then please let us know, as we always want to make this podcast better. So hearing from you is always a pleasure. Please subscribe to all of our platforms, get involved at Triangle Theory. If you've got any comments, or if you want to share any topics that you think that me and Conrad would like to talk about, then please get involved. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, like, because you have to,
as well,
because inherently mistakes are always made, and I don't think it's like it's not so much like ignorance or anything like that, or like they always say like ignorance is bliss. I think it's more remembering that there are always going to be setbacks, there's always going to be challenges, but it will only be harder if you make it harder on yourself. And I would, like they say, I can't remember the exact statistic, but most of the problems that we worry about like don't really happen. It's either
that's so true,
because it's either it's like, am I going to worry about this in 5 years? Is this even a problem worth worrying about? If it's an actual problem, then maybe it will actually do me good. Or like, I can't remember, there's like another one where
that's what we spoke in a Stoicism episode. You suffer more in your imagination than in reality, right?
100%. And I think when you kind of look at it in a way that's, okay, well, I want to have a bit more of a growth mindset and not necessarily fixed. You're not like you don't feel like so much threatened by the mistakes that you're making. Yeah. Because you kind of look at the internal, and then you look at what you can control, and then you go, okay, well, I still know who I am. Yeah. Yeah. Problems are problems. It'll be fine. Am I going to worry about this in 5 years? Probably not.
How do you think, it's just a question that popped in my head. How do you think that the mindset shifts your identity? As in, if you're in a fixed mindset, how you behave, and then if you try to cultivate a growth mindset, how does it shift your identity? If that makes sense.
Yeah, like if I use me as an example.
Yeah, of course.
So
it's personal experience is the best.
Exactly. Like if I look at myself when I had a bit more of a fixed mindset, I was definitely the kind of person that would worry about problems that didn't happen. I wasn't I think I was just a bit of like an overstressor and an overthinker. And then if I look at that as my identity, I was a bit more sort of anxious. I was a bit more closed off. I wasn't necessarily like a bit more of a risk taker. I felt like I was a bit more sort of introverted in a way. I mean, I am, but like, I think it was more, it was a part of being a fixed mindset was a part of my identity. It kind of made me feel like almost self-conscious about doing things, and whether that be at like work or with friends, I just didn't feel like I was almost like good enough. I was kind of trying to avoid stuff. If it was like a challenge, I'd kind of bury my head in the sand. And I think when you identify as yourself as someone that kind of runs away from their problems, then you're not, like, even in confrontational conflicts or even in uncomfortable conversations, like if I look to myself in the capacity of a relationship, if it was trying to talk about something that was uncomfortable, I kind of didn't want to talk about it. Whether it's now being a bit more of a growth mindset, it's more, I try and run towards things that I suppose like challenge the mind or give me a bit more of an understanding of self. Like I think it was just a bit, if I go back to sort of my own fixed mindset, I think I was just a bit worried all the time.
I guess you understand that from what I see, I guess you understand that all these difficult conversations, uncomfortable situations, it makes you a better person and makes you a stronger, just builds your character. That's why you look at these things as not you don't look at these things as bad. It's just you know that like they're going to make you better and you'll become a better person. Yeah, interesting. Because I was talking with my jiu-jitsu coach a couple years ago, maybe a few years ago, and I was all about the mindset, and I am, but I was very like into mindset books. I was reading like The Secret and how to manifest stuff and all of that, and I feel like all of these things have synergies, and I was thinking I was trying to come up with a logical explanation on how to manifest things with your mindset in a way. So again, I was reading these books, The Power of Your Mindset, where it tells you that you have to visualize yourself and in that way, and it didn't really make sense for me because I think I am the person who needs a logical explanation. Like I can't just read The Secret and close my eyes and think about a sandwich. The sandwich drops from the sky. So I kind of needed a logical explanation and scientific explanation how that actually works, because it seems like it works, but there's no one really explained me right. And then I was talking with my jiu-jitsu coach, and he's a certified hypnotherapist. And when I was living in Roehampton, we used to go into training together, and we always used to talk about like mindset and stuff and martial arts and just deep stuff. That's why I think I really resonate with him, and I love him so much, because it's just, we get along so well on such a deep level that we can explore these different topics. So we were talking with him, and once he explained me this concept that identity, so you have your identity, and then from identity comes beliefs, then from beliefs comes your behaviors, from behaviors comes your habits, and from habits comes the results. So essentially, if you want to change the results, you need to change your identity first. And how to do it is because your identity is so deep rooted in your subconscious, because that you need to kind of get into your subconscious mind and start to visualize yourself, that you are that person. Essentially, you have to step into that person and start to behave like him. And I was thinking, I'm like, so how do you do it? I was asking obviously loads of questions because that was so new for me. And he said, just while meditating, obviously your brain's goes into that low frequency, and that's when your mind is very susceptible to like different things, because your mind doesn't really know the difference between reality and visualization. It's just always, if everything feels real for it. So essentially, when you start to meditate and visualize yourself, and you start to see yourself, and that's how you start to change your identity and beliefs. And I remember when he told me that, it all made sense. I was like, yes, that's how you actually shift. And And then I remember back in those days when I started doing martial arts, I was watching a lot of Conor McGregor stuff, and he said, I just visualize stuff and it happens. And I was like, and at that time I was reading a lot of the secret stuff and how to manifest things, and I thought that's how he does it. But then when my coach explained it, it just all made sense, because what McGregor did, he always visualized himself, that person, and eventually he started to act as one. And when you start to act as one, your brain starts to capture things that would be related to that person that you visualized to. So another great example, when I was back in Lithuania, I never used to see, those cars that teaches you how to drive. So you learn.
Yeah, driving instructors.
Driving instructors, yeah. So I never used to see them, and then once I started to have my own lessons, I'm seeing these cars everywhere. I was like, I've never seen them before. And then I think that was the first time when I got familiar with that. When you put your intention, that's when you start to see things.
I can totally relate to that, because when me and Charlie were like starting our business, it wasn't until I started working on myself more that did things start to change. Because and it was kind of during probably a similar time period. It was like a few years ago. Me and Charlie always used to be like, if the business pays our rent, then we'd be really content with where we're at with the business.
Yeah.
And at the time I wasn't drawing any money from it, and we were just kind of just working other jobs and sort of just like getting by and stuff. And I started to put myself in a frame of mind that the business was doing that. So every time I would talk about Dostmas, I was talking about it as if it was paying me a salary, and if it was going really well, and it was. And I kind of just did the more of the internal stuff. So I kind of just doubled down on the self-development. I read more, and like, again, putting myself in a like meditation once a day, and kind of really tried to envision what it would look like. And me and Charlie were always like, yeah, if we just go to work with a knife bag and, you know, come back and we don't have to set up a whole kitchen in a market, and, you know, it'd be a big stress. Like if we could just go to our own kitchen and it's, you know, operational 7 days a week, like, and we just put ourselves in that frame of mind, and then it happened. We got opportunities that allowed us to do that. And I'm not just saying like, oh, I just had to think it, and it came from also like the hard work and putting stuff into action.
Like,
but I think what it was it was putting myself in a frame of mind that, of course, it made sense. Like it was always going to happen. Like people always are you surprised that Dostmas got to like even where it is now, which is still a very small business? So I'm like, no, like it was always going to get there, because I thought about it every day.
And again, like when I was talking with my coach, it's not about like they say like you have to believe in the stuff that is gonna happen, which I agree. But then I think the one layer below that, which is identity, if your identity not does it only believe in it, but it also knows it. So say for example, I don't know, I'm just like, I know I'm going to do the right thing that I need to do in the future, and it's not like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to become successful, like I'm not sure if there's a certain, I'm so certain on it, like it's just, I almost know it before it even happens. So I think that's really important, to just not only believe in it, but also go one layer below it and just know it. Like when you were running Dostmas, you said it would be great to rent to pay your rent, but then it's not only believe in it, but like, no, we're gonna make this work. I know, like, I'm gonna make this work.
You identify yourself with it. Like I identified with myself that this is what I do full time. This is that's kind of just the frame of mind I put myself in. It wasn't this sort of trying to sort of like do it and being like, oh, like, can I pull it off? Can I do it? Like, it stopped and was like, no. And it wasn't like I was kidding myself, and I felt it. Like, it was kind of came from a place where I knew intuitively that it was also going to happen. Then it kind of fell into place. And I think life has a weird way of working itself out like that, where if you really do see it and believe it and speak it, and you then constantly look out for, like, almost you're constantly looking out for the opportunities that allows you to have it on a subconscious level, and then it just kind of falls into place a bit.
Exactly.
That's only how I can describe it. From, like, I didn't just wish it into place.
Yeah.
I just thought about it, I felt it, and I just went down that path, that, like, straight line of, cool, now I'm just going to keep going with it.
The person 10 years ago, you 10 years ago wouldn't have seen the opportunities you see right now, because you're just in a completely different mindset. But now that you actually live it, you start to see those patterns and opportunities. And you touched on a conscious and subconscious mind, and what would you say is the difference between those two, and how would you distinguish it?
I would say, if you imagine a dark room, and this is how I normally always explain it, and if you are navigating a dark room with just a torch, like a flashlight, you can only see, you're pointing at things that you can see. So that would be your conscious mind. But I think your subconscious mind would be like turning the lights on of the whole room. So, like, you have, do you know what I mean? So, like, you can see the whole room. And I think the subconscious mind makes up for the majority of your mind. So, like, the 95%, the conscious mind is your kind of your day to day.
Fucking hell,
in a way.
No, I've heard people explaining that.
So
it
that
makes sense.
That's kind of, but everything comes from your subconscious, from what I understand it. And I'm not, there are studies that prove that, and there are, like, really great people online that talk about this stuff all the time. And I'm not going to do as good a job at them, but from what I take from it is, if you train yourself and you train your subconscious mind, it will come through to your conscious mind. Like, you'll start thinking about things differently. Like, another really good thing that I did, I don't do it so much anymore, was before I would go to bed, I wrote out my problems, because I read that if you write out your problems before you bed and sort of get everything out, your subconscious mind, whilst you sleep, will start to work on it, and you start waking up and looking at your problems a bit differently. Because, like, during your sleep or something, your mind's trying to figure, I'm not sure what, like,
well, that's when your mind is the most susceptible to things, when is actually when you sleep, because your brains are on the lowest frequency possible. That's why people say when you sleep and try to listen to affirmations or whatever. I mean, I'm not really doing it. I've done it, and I've done it not for a long time, because I think when I'm sleeping, I just want to be quiet. So I want to just pass out and sleep. So I think it intervenes with my sleep a little bit. But yeah, man, I read a book that's called Release Your Breaks.
Okay.
And in that book says the same thing: before you go to sleep, try to listen and visualize stuff. So that's what I do. Like, I meditate and visualize for like 15 minutes before bed.
And did you see, like, a profound difference on that?
Oh yeah, mate, 100%. It's crazy how so there's a little story as well. I remember when I was working in my previous job in marketing, I was terrified to get on sales calls. Terrified, man. I was so scared. And I'd never done a sale before in my life when I worked in that place. I was just doing, like, demo calls, like chatting with owners, but it was just like I had a list of questions I'm asking next, and it's just not even a conversation. It was very robotic. And I remember my friend I was working with, he's like, try to jump on a call and close the sale. If you close that sale, I'll give you 50% of commission.
Oh shit.
I was like, fuck. I need money as well. I needed money a lot. So what I did, and at that time I was talking with my coach about like visualization and that. And what I did, I was for like a week before that call, I was visualizing myself jumping on a call, talking, going through each and individual question, seeing her asking me questions, because that was a woman founder. And then yeah, at the end I just saw myself closing her. And I jumped on the call and straight away it felt like I've been there already. Like I didn't have that anxiety, or that's like there's this girl, should I call woman, on LinkedIn. Her name is Maya Vrichora, if I'm not mistaken. I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing her surname wrong.
Shout out to Maya
but her name is Maya, and she's all about like visualization, and she had TEDx talks, and she's like all about her business is all about visualization, and she goes to different corporations talk about it, and it's really fascinating because when I looked at it, and it makes sense, man. Like it's you actually when you obviously I'm not gonna explain as well as she does, but it's all about you visualizing stuff, and then it's almost like your mind knows that you've been there, and you don't feel that anxiety or you don't feel that pressure to close that person. So I went through all the questions, we had a conversation, and then she said, yeah, like let's go ahead. But then she didn't sign the contract. But after like 3 or 4 days, money came in, and I just couldn't believe it, man. Like it was like I was so terrified of doing this, but now I just closed that. So I think that's it, man. It's all about putting yourself in that situation, and putting yourself in that situation in your mind at first, and then go and do that in reality if you got like whatever issues.
No, I totally agree. And like I think when it comes down to sort of like manifesting and cultivating a powerful mindset and identifying yourself as someone that has that, and like what, like you say, like attaching your identity to the things in which you believe in, therefore you try to become the things which you want to become. I think a lot of it comes down to sort of like also where you're at in life and like what you want to achieve for yourself. Because I think people will only want to have a better mindset if they're in the frame of mind that they know that they can change. I think some people, not all people, but I think unless you kind of have that want and willingness to be like, no, I want to change for this. I think a lot of people say they want to do, but not necessarily everyone does it. And I think it also comes down to your why. Why you want to change, and what are your reasons for that? Because I remember I always just wanted to. It's like for being on the sales, like you would have stuck through that because you wanted to not only make money, but I suppose better yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just so concerned on like I know I can do it. It's just why I'm so afraid of doing it. Like what's stopping me? There was definitely a mental block because I didn't really saw myself as the person who can talk to these founders and owners. Definitely that was it. And then once I started to see that in my mind, I would assume my mind was just seeing that like, yeah, this is it. Like he's doing that, so we have to change the program now that he actually believes in. And when I did it, it felt like so natural. And since then, it was a lot easier, I guess.
It's funny, I was thinking what cultivates a like strong mindset like the other day. And I think it always starts from a place of gratitude of what you have. So I sort of, even during, I'd say like the pandemic when it was like tough and we were trying to think about what we wanted to do the business. But I remember in those moments where I was like leaning into the self-development side more and working on myself, I leaned in like 150% of my effort, just being grateful for what I had.
Yeah.
And I think that made me feel a lot more positive about my life, even though it was difficult at the time. because it allowed me to appreciate what I have, who I'm around, and where I want to. It kind of gave me more of a steer of where I wanted to go. Like, it wasn't this feeling of I never had enough, or I won't be happy until I have that. It was looking at my life of everything that I am, even to the smallest things. So I would always try and do like a gratitude practice within sort of like cultivating more of a powerful mindset, whether that's like sort of, like reading the books, listening to the podcasts. It was like, I always try to inherently start my day with doing more of the self work of, I'm really happy with where I'm at.
Yeah, it's, I remember I sent you a video yesterday. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but Rick Rubin, I think his name is. I need to watch his podcast because the way he explained, so what he's basically said, he said, how to know if you're on the right path. And he basically said that if you care about the situation so much, then you're not really on the right path because you don't really enjoy the journey to it. Hey guys, your feedback is very important. And no, this is not an advertisement. Actually, what I'm asking from you is to leave a comment below what you liked and most importantly, what you disliked about this episode, because we can improve on the next episodes and we can make a better content for you to listen. Give us also a topics you'd like to us talking about and we can prepare, do your research and talk about it on the next episodes. Thank you. And it just clicked for me so much because I was, it's not even that long ago. I was just probably like 5 months or 6 months ago. I was very concerned of like what I'm gonna do if I'm not going to be successful or something. I mean, sometimes the thoughts creeps in, and you start to think about like what's gonna happen if I'm not gonna achieve this, what's gonna happen if I'm not gonna do this and that. And then I think my girlfriend helped me with that a lot, and she said like you doing what you like now. You're doing the job that you like, you're doing the podcast, you're training, you better yourself, and why are you rushing? Like, you're always gonna do the same thing, no matter if you're going to come to whatever it is in your mind. Like, and I was talking with my friend as well, and sometimes I'm like, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that. Even if we're sitting in a pub having a beer, and it's like, and what's going to happen there when you go? It's like, we're gonna do the same. It's like, so why you just can't chill here? And I always have this in my mind that I have to be somewhere else, go somewhere else for it to be better. But then I don't really realize that I'm here is the things that I'm doing right now. It's the best thing. It's the best thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's very important to remind yourself that it's not about the way, like, it's not about how you're going to come to that place. It's all about the journey and the work that you put in.
Yeah, and I totally relate to that, because I remember when I said all I wanted was for Dustmas to pay my rent, right? And like, it does that now, but it's still not enough.
It's not enough, yeah.
So I'm
that's
always
it.
thinking, and like, I remember someone kind of gave me a bit of a wake-up call last year, and they were like, the Rupert 5 years ago was dreaming to be in the position that you're
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
So, and it took me a while to kind of, it like took me a bit to think on that, because I was like, fuck yeah, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
And yeah, you kind of sort of appreciate it, you're grateful for it, but your mind is you kind of completely forget that you are in the position now that you wanted to be in. That, do you know what I mean? So it's like reminding yourself of that, being grateful for that, and then that, I think that it allows you to be on that path and that trajectory for more.
Yeah.
And I think it's having those daily reminders where you're checking in, being like, yeah, I am super grateful for that. I did work really hard to get here, and it is a journey. And that's what it is all about. Like, yes, there's the destination of where you want to go. It will change, but it's knowing that being on that path allows you to like enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then, you just keep checking in with that.
Yeah, there's no end, man. When you think about it, the person that you want to become now is still going to have the problems and still going to have other things to do. So what's the point of rushing there? Or like delving on the problems that you have now and of what you're not having now, because when you're going to get there, you're still going to have problems. So there's just no end. There's no end to it.
And I think that's, for me, that's what inherently cultivates a really strong mindset. Like in general, if you can be grateful for what you have, you're not so much thinking about the destination. You're just enjoying the journey of what you're doing. And you look things not like optimistically, but also with a mindset that's growth based, not fixed based. So you're not comparing yourself to others. You're sticking on your path. You look at challenges as good things. You look at problems as good things. You're positive about those problems. It's not letting you I think that if you can direct yourself in that way on a day-to-day basis, and then you're then reflecting on that, that for me changed my life. And before the pandemic, I was very much a fixed mindset, and it wasn't until sort of the pandemic where I had like time to reflect on myself and who I was and where I was at, because I wasn't happy before that. And I felt like didn't really know what I was doing, and I felt like I had a bit of imposter syndrome with stuff that I was doing.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't until I kind of was able to sit and like the world stopped. And for the first month of the pandemic, I remember I just like binge watched series, and I wasn't really doing much, and I knew that wasn't a proactive way of thinking. And it wasn't until like after a month, me and I was living with Charlie and Emily at the time, we had this whiteboard in the kitchen, and we did a daily routine of like what we thought was good to get us out of this slump. And it was like waking up, doing some form of exercise, and like eating a healthy breakfast, and like kind of treating my day as if it was like, I'm going to show up for myself. Even if I'm not working right now, I'm still going to show up. I'm going to get changed, and I'm going to be in a place of where I am like picking myself up. And then I started to like pick up a book and read 10 pages a day, and then I was consistent with that, and I was really proud of that. And then I started the sort of reflecting on that, and then I just doubled down on that, and it changed it changed the way I thought about everything, just by showing up for myself, being positive about it. Because then I also kind of was realizing that, it's a shitty situation, but everyone's in it. It's not just me. And
focus on what you can control. Right?
And that was exactly it. And that allowed me to cultivate this positive, powerful mindset that I didn't even know that I was doing until when I look back, I'm like, damn, that actually took some like standing up for
yourself.
And knowing that I have the potential as well. And I think everyone does. I think you just have to really put in the sort of self-reflection of, okay, who do I want to be and why do I want to be that person? And I'm the same as you. Like, I was always terrified that I wasn't going to get there. I was always worried that I was never going to be successful, but then I was like, okay, well then what is success to me?
Exactly. You have to.
What does that look like?
You have to define it as well, because not everyone, sorry, but majority of people imagine that if you're successful, you have to have this mansions and the cars and loads of girls, and it's not like, I know people that feeling absolutely happy just working in a job. But my mom, she's probably the happiest person ever. And like when I ask about things like mom, why you didn't do this or didn't do that when you were younger, and she's like, she worked in the same job for 37 years, and she's like, I loved my job. It was the best job I ever did. I had the best friends there. I was going there like it was a celebration every day.
Mm.
She just loved what she did. And if you're the person who's very happy with what you do, either that would be a job or maybe you have a hobby that you really enjoy. That's it, man. Like it's all about moving from there where you want to get next and maybe upgrade your life in a way. But if you're feeling happy, not complacent with where you are, I think you can say that you're successful. Because I mean, if you compare the person who's as an example, my mom, she wasn't earning much, probably like in Lithuania was, I don't know, like 700 euros a month. But she's going to the job that she loves and she's just happy to be there. And then you compare a person who earns 50 grand a month, but he's miserable in whatever he does. Either that would be running his own business or working for a corporation. I don't know. I would say my mum was more successful then because she did what she meant to do. Like she was true to herself, right?
Mm. And yeah, it's people kind of confusing what the success. Like I think you can have on paper what people aspired success to be.
Yeah.
But it's not about that. Like I even take my own example of that. Where, and I used Osmas as that example, where even though I was like unhappy with the position I was in because I wasn't where I was at with Osmas, but even when I got there, and I'm still like on that journey, like I was still feeling not like, so it was almost like it's not about what you have, it's am I happy with who I am?
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
You know, am I being a good person to the people around me that I care about? Am I doing the things that I want to do, which is spend it with people that I care about and leaning into the things that make me feel good.
Yeah.
Not so much trying to buy things or prove my success and worth to people through things that I have.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. So if, say, for example, you're the person who has a fixed mindset but wants to start to better yourself and cultivate a more growth mindset, what would be the steps you would do to start your identity shift, start to shift your identity to a more
Positive
growth and
mindset.
positive orientated mindset?
Like what would I do?
Yeah. What would be just daily tasks you would implement, I would say?
I think it's really important to have some form of self-reflection where you're grateful. So looking at what you have and actually being grateful for it. And that's really hard. Because sometimes it can be hard for people to be like, I don't have how can I be grateful for it? Because I'm not in a great, but going really small, like I'm just grateful that it's a nice day, or I'm grateful that, you know, I'm not starving, or I'm grateful that, like, just this
little things,
kind of little things like that, because it inherently makes you feel better about yourself. So I definitely would say that's a recommendation. Start cultivating a positive mindset.
Just to cut you, but I think, as you mentioned, but actually feel it. It's not about I'm grateful for a nice day, but then you're not really grateful, right? You just said it. So I think it's very important to actually very important to feel it, not just say it. Yeah,
like you internalize it, like really lead with that being. It like I do actually taking time, and it's also being present.
Yeah.
So not so much thinking about the future or dwelling on the past. I always, again, like going more towards that growth mindset of being inherently happy with where I'm at, and being really in tune with that moment of like, okay, this is guaranteed. My present is guaranteed right now. I'm sat in the present moment.
Yeah.
Not getting so overwhelmed, and trying to recommend that of me and Charlie always look at it as day to day. It's like not looking at the mountain that we have to climb, just one climb,
one stepping stone.
one stepping stone at a time. Because I think that's all you can do is just one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you've got your map in the direction of where you want to go, but you're not trying to achieve that all in one day.
Yeah.
And again, I think that made me also like, what about you? If I could throw the question back at you.
I guess I could just give an example from my own story, from my own life and experience, because I definitely was in a fixed mindset place, I would call it. And what helped for me is to change my environment. That was a big one. Because when I was in Lithuania, everyone around me was just fixed mindset, right? Like no one really...
That's a really good point.
No one really... I was born in a fixed mindset family. Like you get a job, you do this, and that's it. Like you don't really think about achieving stuff because you can't. Like you're not meant to do this. Because even I remember I thought that people who achieve great success is just are destined for it. They are different, the different breed or something. And yeah, that's what I always thought. And then when I moved here and everything, yeah, I think internet helped me a lot as well when I was seeing these different people and they saying that, yeah, I was just this random guy or a lady. And then I started to do different things and here I am. Like, I was like, man, like maybe it is possible. Like, and then McGregor came in, obviously he was just a random guy working as a plumber, and then he became this big star. I was like, and then yeah, when I started doing jiu-jitsu, naturally these fit and healthy people around me from different environments and different parts of life, and my coach influenced me a lot. And then I met Charlie as well, I met other friends, and Joe as well. He's got his own business, and he even tells about himself, like he wasn't really confident guy or thinking about that he's gonna be successful when he was a little kid, but then he shifted, and just by being around these people influenced me as well. I was like, yeah, man, I can do this. I know I can. And now when I'm looking back, it's just, yeah, it's a big part of changing your environment, because your environment influences you so much. So that's why I'm trying to choose new friends, and not like I'm not trying to keep the relationship with my old friends, because I don't really have many of the friends from Lithuania, but I have a couple that I'm really close, and we think the same way as well. And when I'm choosing new friends now, it's always about like how do you think and what you think.
Yeah, you are who you surround yourself with.
Exactly, man. You are who you surround yourself with, and yeah. So when I'm choosing choosing new friends, I'm always thinking about how can we both better each other. Like, how can I bring something to the table, and how can you bring something to the table? I'm not talking about money or whatever. I'm just talking about helping to grow, and that's why I like to have these people around me who's growth orientated.
It's like you want better for yourself, and you should want to be around people that want better for you, and
absolutely,
you want better for them.
I want to bring value as well. Like I don't want to just take it.
Exactly. Like if you're, hanging around with people that just want to go to the pub all the time, like it's not going to help you as a person.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really important to, and like you say, like changing your environment. If you want to, because I think that's a really good point and a really valid point, is if you change your environment and you gear it to be the person that you want to be. Like, let's say, for example, you're someone that smokes every day or has a pack of cigarettes. Like, if you remove the cigarettes from your environment, like, I know it's not as easy as that, but it is as simple as that.
Yeah.
Like changing your environment that allows you to have what it is that you want is such a big part of it.
It's true, man.
Like another example was I tried to do that in my own sort of, even in my own place during the pandemic. Like again, sort of that time for me was one of those times where it was like doubling down on that, trying to have a bit more of a growth mindset to things, and changing my environment allowed me to do that. Like having like systems in place where I could do my work effectively and like work it out, and it was such a big thing for me. And there's this really good book, everyone's read it, it's like James Clear, Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. I literally was thinking about it.
It's such a banging book.
It talks about it.
It talks exactly like that, in terms of having better habits and creating habits. Like so much of that is changing your environment. It's crazy because I remember back in Lithuania I used to smoke, and obviously I moved to the UK and I stopped smoking. I started to exercise, I started to eat healthier, and I wasn't that person anymore. And then after like 3 or 4 years I came back. 3 or 4 years I came back to Lithuania, and then I had this urge to smoke. Really? I actually thought that, like, I actually wanted to to go and buy cigarettes. I was like, what? And I remember at that time I read James Clear, Atomic Habits, and it says that even if you're going back to the old environment, triggers things.
You can get back to old habits. So it's the same thing when heroin addicts. I think what happened during the war, I could be wrong, but I think what I've heard that like during the war, like a lot of people were on drugs, and then when they came back to their families, they stopped doing it because it was just different environment.
I think it was in like the Vietnam War, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
It was really accessible. Like all these guys with like fucking opium.
Yeah.
They went back home and like stopped and stuff. Yeah, and it's weird.
And all of them came back, and not all of them, but like from what I've heard, is almost like 90% came back and just stopped cold turkey.
Stopped their heroin addiction. I mean, it's mental. Like
it's crazy.
But yeah, it's such a valid point. And like again, you've got those trigger points.
Yeah,
everyone does, and it's also recognizing that. For wanting like a bit more of a, again, if you're someone that's like listening to this, and I'm sure someone that is listening to this wants to change their mindset or have a positive mindset, it's. And
by the way, changing environment, I don't mean moving to different country, which helps a lot, but just maybe if you see that your friends are very negative or have bad habits, maybe you would just start with your friend circle and just maybe start to spend more time by yourself and ask yourself what do you want, and then once you're there, like environment's gonna change around you as well. Like if you change who you are, like you're not gonna hang out with these friends anymore. So no, it's a really interesting one, and it's something that you can do immediately. It's not something that takes a long time to build. Yeah, absolutely.
Like even another example was like being on my phone too much. Right? Always, I mean, still am, but I try and put things in place where it cuts the app off, or I don't put my phone in my room if I want to get a good night's sleep, because it's the first thing I do when I wake up is look at my phone. And I still do that, but at times. So I bought an alarm clock.
Oh, nice.
Instead of using
I've got that as well.
Phone as an alarm, because if my phone would go off, I would just like go on my phone or like look at an email or go on Instagram and stuff. Whereas I was like, I really want to stop that habit. So I was like, okay, I've got to remove my phone from the situation. So I was like, cool, I'll buy an old school alarm clock.
Yeah.
Then kind of, and then I don't even look at my phone until I'm like getting out of the door, because I'm like, oh shit, I don't need it. Like I can brush my teeth and all that other stuff without, because I once I would have, if my phone's on my alarm clock, once I look at it, then I'm like taking it into the bathroom with me, then I'm like watching it while I'm trying to make a coffee,
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
like
It's always with you,
once
right?
you've removed, it's simple things like that where it just makes so much sense, and you're like, fuck it, it really is that simple.
Yeah, it's James Clear talks about it as well, like connecting habits. So I remember when I was, I'm still struggling to wake up, but I used to struggle a lot more. And what I did at that time is, after waking up, I used to do like 10 or 20 push-ups,
Oh, that's pretty good.
and then turn my alarm off. So before I'm turning my alarm off, I have to do
So your
10 or
alarm's
20.
still going while you're doing the
Yeah,
push-ups.
still going. Yeah. So I'm just like pumping them quick.
Yeah, I bet.
And then by the time I need to turn it off, I'm awake because I
Mm.
just moved my blood a little bit. And I remember that I was like on a 3 or 4 week streak. I was like, that's it. I cracked the code, but then I got back to it. So
What for you would you say is like the one thing you do every day consistently that you feel gives you that sense of self-improvement or like mindset? Like, is it
coach hours, definitely.
you do that
Yeah,
on a daily
every
basis?
day.
And that's like you being like, at least I did that. Like if you could go to bed and be like, at least I did that.
So I have non-negotiable tasks
Yeah.
every day. So I got like a list that I'm doing every day.
What would those be?
It's a cold shower in the morning after I get up out of bed straight. Then I read 10 pages. I pray, I journal, and I meditate and visualize for like 15 minutes.
Wow.
So all of it takes probably, if I would do everything in one go, it would probably take max an hour, maybe even less. Reading just takes the longest part.
Mm.
But I read on my way to work, so on the tube, reading, it's almost like a habit now.
Mm.
I get on the tube, I read, that's it. So as long as I'm doing this, I'm cool. But sometimes even if I'm doing all of these things and I miss a training or something, I'm like, fuck, like why did I miss it?
Mm.
So I think if I do all of these things and then train, that's a perfect day.
Mm.
That's an amazing day.
Mm. Yeah. No,
What about you?
non-negotiables. I always journal and I'll always meditate.
That's good, man.
Like because sometimes it's so busy, or if I'm woke up late or I sleep, like if I can do those two things, I'm like, cool, it was a successful day regardless.
Yeah.
And then everything, like things around that, whether it's like reading 10 pages, I'm not going to be able to read 10 pages every day all the time. Like sometimes it's hard
Yeah.
to do that. But mostly I'll do 10 pages a day.
What are you reading now?
It's called Designing the Mind.
Ooh.
Which
Oh
is,
yeah, you showed me that.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is a really good one. It's one of those books again, it's like really interesting. It's again it's how to rewire your complete mindset, which is really fun and interesting. But sometimes it doesn't always have to be like a non-fiction book. I also enjoy like reading fiction, or
Yeah.
want to start picking up more fiction now.
It's interesting because I'm thinking about it as well. Like I'm thinking of starting to read more fiction.
It's crazy because I always used to just read non-fiction books.
Yeah.
It's always
Same.
like,
I feel like reading fiction is a waste of time.
That's why it's kind of like watching TV in a way. But actually, it's really important, I think.
Yeah, it is, man. It is.
And I actually really enjoy reading.
All reading is very good for you.
That's
For
what
your
I mean.
brains as well.
Like it doesn't always have to be this feeling of like, because I think after a while it was taking my enjoyment out of reading, because it kind of had to come from a place of, now I've got to learn something when I feel like learning something. But I actually really enjoy reading, so I want to enjoy reading something that's like kind of feels like I'm switching off in a way. That's also really important as well. Is trying to find inherently some time in my day where I can just completely switch off, because that to me now is a bit more of a non-negotiable, like actually having a day off, whether it's just being able to they always say that planning time off is not time wasted, or sort of putting wasted time in your calendar is not wasted time. How
often do you do that?
Now, before I would just kind of like, I'd say in the last 2 years I had no time for myself. Now I'm being like, I need
You're gonna schedule it
at least an afternoon, like, so if it's from like 12 till 6 or like 6 till I go to bed, like that's time where I'm just like, I want to just, you know, do nothing.
Yeah.
Like watch TV.
Yeah.
Have a decent like meal, like cook myself a nice meal, hang out. Just, yeah, I think.
Just enjoy it, right?
Yeah, because I always used to sit and be like, oh, I'm not. Like,
Not doing it, yeah.
I'm not panicking. I'm not doing what I should be doing. Like there's all these things I could be doing, whether that's like reading a book, listening to a podcast, like putting this kind of unnecessary pressure on myself. And then I would get kind of upset at myself because I'm not giving myself the free time. And actually I'm like, no, I want to give myself this time. Like, I want to be able to just lie down and do fuck all.
Yeah, man. I've wrote a couple of things I think that would be very interesting to look at. It's not many of them, but
okay.
So I think when you experience an identity shift from either that would be from the fixed mindset to growth mindset, you always experience different emotions and emotion turbulences and just different. I would say different emotions in your mind, and I feel like what puts a lot of people off a lot of the times because they experience it and they view it as a bad thing, and I think that's what if you experience these emotions, it means you're on the right path. That's how I view it. So, say for example, I wrote this a couple of them. When you started your business, Dosma's business, did you feel resistance and uncertainty, and why do you think you felt that way?
I mean, I feel it every day.
But like I guess when you're doing something new, especially, like you always feel like, say for example, we started a podcast and
am I met with resistance?
Have you met have you been have you experienced resistance and uncertainty, especially?
Yeah, for sure. Resistance being like problems that we've like even this week. There's always things that come up that like will challenge you in a way that puts you on the back foot. And I think it's. Do you mean like resistance in my own mind? So like.
Yeah. So maybe I'm not clear with the question.
No.
So what I wrote down here is, with identity shifting, you're most likely going to be afraid of the future, the uncertainty of it. As humans, we love when our life is planned and everything is certain. It's biological program. However, most of the time, that's not the case. Resistance will arise due to comfort and security associated with the current identity. So I guess, and then I wrote down why it's good to feel this way when you're meeting resistance and uncertainty, because that means you doing something right. You are stepping into that different identity of yours.
For sure, yeah.
And it goes back to, remember I told you, when you have to kill yourself to actually become a new person. So that old yourself doesn't want to let you go because he's very comfortable here.
Yeah.
But you trying to become a different person, that's why it holds you back.
Exactly. And it's, I resonate that in a way that's like, if I'm met with a problem, I no longer try and hold on to the problem and let it really make me worry.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about the problem until I have all of the facts, until I know everything, and until it becomes like more of a reality. Because I think before, with everything that I was faced, it was always like worst case scenario, but now it's not so much that. It's like, okay, am I met with self-doubt and resistance? Yeah. But I think that to me is also an indicator that I'm moving to the next step. Yeah. That's positive. When self-doubt kind of creeps in, it's a sign that you're doing something right. Yeah. Like,
that's how I view it. If I feel like an imposter, or if I feel self-doubt, as you said, it means, I'm changing.
Yeah.
It means I'm changing now.
Yeah.
So,
Like
and I'm moving to that person where I want to go.
it's like being okay with the uncomfortable constantly.
Yeah.
So whenever you're met with resistance or pushback, instead of being like, oh, okay, I'm not good enough, like this is an indicator that I was never supposed to do it anyway. It's like, okay, what's my mindset going forward with that resistance? And now it's more geared towards like being a bit more growth and a bit more sort of like looking at the opportunity going, cool, yeah, I'm going to use all my resources to sort of push through it. And this is an indicator that I am moving towards something that's I'm going to come out on the other side of it.
Absolutely.
What about you?
Again, if I feel like it's uncertain, or if I feel like an imposter, I just meant to. It feels like I'm doing the right thing, I guess. And it's not always that easy to think, because it's a negative emotion at the end of the day. Like, you're not feeling great about yourself. So it's really hard to think positively about it as it's a good thing. But again, it goes back to all the bad things that happen to you. They're not bad things. It's just opportunities to do something better, I guess. So yeah, man, it's all about shifting that mindset. It's not bad. It's actually, that's how it should be. And what can I do? What can I do better by looking at this bad situation?
I agree. And it's also like, before I used to put my head in the sand, but I always have this kind of like, whenever I'm faced with a problem, if I don't deal with the problem, I know that it only extends it. So I always lead with, okay, I don't want to extend the problem anymore. Like, it's not, I can't wish it away. I just have to just go all in, and just, it's like that saying of like, you either come back with your shield or on it. Like, I've always had that sort of mentality of like, fuck it.
Yeah. You know? How would you, so if you would summarize it and say, take at least this one thing from the podcast, what would be the main thing you'd like to take away
from this podcast?
Yeah.
Identifying the differences between a growth and fixed mindset, and seeing if any of those identify with you.
I guess, that's very important to know which one
like
are you in.
Yeah. And I think also that today always predetermines who you are tomorrow. So I think you've always got to remember that, if I can take away from this podcast, it's about, I would say, looking at what you have and being grateful for it. What can you change in your environment that allows you to want to become a better person? What indicators you have that make you feel like a good person, or what do you need to do in order to feel like you are improving? And I think kind of being more positive towards problems, like as simple as that. Like, looking at problems is a good thing. Like, there's that really famous thing from like Jocko Willink where he's like sat in his thing and he's like, someone comes into my office and they have all these problems, he's just like, good. And I love that, because
man,
I
was actually saying that to myself this morning.
Like, if you change that mindset of these problems are good, I think you create a powerful mindset. And I think that it becomes really difficult to sort of, it's almost like how do I explain it? Like, having a negative mindset starts to become like a, I don't know,
a trend.
Yeah, like you kind of, Like, if you want a negative mindset, you'll have one. If you want to think negatively on a problem,
it's easy, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think just being positive is a choice as well. What about you?
I think the main thing from this podcast that I would like people to take is that little formula I mentioned earlier, that it's your identity, then your beliefs, then your behavior, habits, and results. So delve into your identity. It's all about the self-reflection as well. Try to journal and see who you are as a person. And I know it sounds cliche, but it's very, very important to really know what you believe in and what you want, and then just start to shift that identity by either changing your environment, meditating and visualizing yourself being that person. Just actually step into that person and see how you behave, and how you behave by being that person, and then self-reflection as well, as you mentioned, and being grateful.
Couldn't agree more. Should we end it there?
Nice.
Cool. Thank you so much for watching this or listening to this podcast. If you got this far, then thank you. And
I'll see you with the shorts and with the next podcast.